I used to dismiss ghost stories, but I don't know what I believe anymore. Shoddy dialogue, a persistent passive voice, uninspired characters with no discernible motives, a derivative entity that I like to call dull din. I could list more of the author's shortcomings, but I'll leave the art of meandering prose to him. He's mastered it, after all. 1 out of 5 stars. I'm a horror critic, and that's a snippet from my deleted review. Upon reflection, I suppose I might have been needlessly cruel. But isn't that a critic's defining quality? Nobody wants to read a pandering puff piece. Yes, I'm a cynic. In my defence, it's been a rough year. And the author, who I'll call Thomas, caught me on a particularly bad day. My wife, Clara, had just left me. And the author's supernatural tale about Din, his paranormal protector, bored me beyond belief. The emailed response I received from Thomas was a little disconcerting, but I was no stranger to hate mail. Subject: Dull Din. He's coming for you, Nate. I was tempted to email a reply that Thomas's threat was even less terrifying than his poorly written story, but I restrained myself. If only I'd exhibited the same self-discipline before publishing that cursed review. I sobbed in the lounge, gorging on pizza with my dearest companion, Dom Perignon. I'm a drunkard, but I know how to crumble with class. I come from a long line of polished turds. It's ancestral. We act with poise and aplomb, but we're ugly underneath. My father was that way. My grandfather was that way. I don't think any of my ancestors have ever experienced a comeuppance like mine, though. There was knocking at the door. I slumped off the sofa and lazily sauntered to the lobby, unlatching the door. It wasn't locked. Why bother? I hadn't expected any visitors. It wasn't Clara who startled me. Yes, it was shocking to see my wife on the doorstep, but something else horrified me. Only for a second. A black ghoul, wearing only a malignant smile, was standing behind Clara. It was peering over my wife's shoulder, but it rapidly disappeared behind her. I screamed, running past my wife, but the entity was nowhere to be seen. "What's wrong with you, Nate?" Clara groaned, entering the house. "You're not having a breakdown, are you?" I stood in the snow, shivering from the chill in both the air and my veins. I thought I might well be having an episode, so I slowly backed into the house, closing the door behind us. "And now your socks will be soaked," Clara sighed. "I hate to mother you. That's exactly why I left. But you should go and change. I'll make us some coffee." She was right. My feet were frozen. So I rushed upstairs, flung the socks into the laundry basket, and found a fresh pair. As I was strolling downstairs, I prepared my apology for Clara. It wasn't the first time she'd grown tired of my nonsense and walked away. "Listen," I began, walking into the kitchen. But my wife wasn't there. The hairs on my skin rose to attention, as if my body was sensing something, and my conscious mind was simply playing catch-up. It was oddly quiet downstairs. "Clara?" With a resounding clunk, the lights blew. Every light blew. I could hear the cacophony of light bulbs shattering throughout the house. I started to hyperventilate, eyeing my lifeless home. And then there was the sound of static. Radio static. A garbled, pitch-shifted version of Every Breath You Take by the Police began to play. My throat narrowed, and I gasped for air as I realised what was happening. It was what Din had done in Thomas's terrible story. The demon tormented the family, all in the name of protecting its master. In the end, it massacred everyone but the main character, Thomas. A low-pitched, slowed, sourceless sting sang. Clara, where are you? I strolled through the darkened house, wishing my inebriated brain would recall where I'd left my phone, or that it would find anything that might light the way. The sinisterly strung guitar twangs and menacing vocals fizzled out. As I entered the lobby, a lamp sprang to life, the only non-shattered light bulb in the house. I pierced the still air with a blood-curdling gasp as I found myself looking upon my wife's crumpled, misshapen, motionless body. It lay at the feet of a smiling shadow, which crackled statically as it took taunting strides towards me.
Nitpicking Nate,
It hissed.
what might we find if we hack away at your flaws?
Before I had a chance to respond, the entity's arm grew and it slashed my face, scooping into my cheek like fleshy ice cream. I unleashed an agonizing bellow and fell to my knees, clutching the bloody cavity in my face.
You had some blemishes, so I fixed them.
Din said, smiling.
Shoddy complexion.
Then the ethereal substance loomed over me, its smile transforming into a gaping hole that revealed a hellish inferno, an endless pit of torture that I was certain I would enter. Instead, I received a parting warning.
I could fix more of your shortcomings, Nate, but I'll leave the art of self-improvement to you. You're about to master it, after all.
And then Clara twitched. I realised she was still alive, though she could not move her broken limbs. Din grinned at me with insidious intent, and the black shadow expanded, engulfing my surroundings. I watched as the unhinged abomination swallowed Clara's mangled body, damning her to an eternity in hell. The shadow vanished in a matter of seconds, leaving me to digest the enormity of what I had unwittingly done. If you ever see that author's story, you would be wise not to provoke him.